you didn't already know, Phantom Forces is one of the best Roblox games, and most likely the only game in the entirety of Roblox that feels like its own game. With nearly 100 different weapons and attachments, thousands of customizable skins, made by a studio of giant developers, the maps and mechanics feel incredibly immersive, and there are all sorts of secrets hidden within the game. From meme references, to hidden designer signatures, and even sites dedicated to the furry community, there's plenty of content to make from this underrated game. However, today I wanted to dive into all the hidden jokes and references inside the game's menu, underneath weapon descriptions. In no particular order, let's get into it. The M231 is an AR platform rifle that is one of the 3 highest unlock rank assault rifles. The gun itself was put into the game as a joke by the developers, as it has an incredibly fast fire rate and near uncontrollable recoil. This is referenced in the weapon's description, saying, "Hits hard, but good luck hitting anything." Despite this, it can actually be well controlled when fitted with a VCOG 6x scope and a canted delta sight, after which there would be virtually no recoil. However, this bug, and many other bugs since, patched the ability to fully control recoil on the weapon. The end of the weapon's description is a callback to Metal Gear Solid 3, in which the character named Boss, while scantily clad, wields a weapon named the Patriot, which is very similar to the M231, albeit with a shorter barrel and a drum clip. It can be somewhat recreated in the game when fitted with a short barrel attachment and M855 specialty conversion. The C7A2 is a Canadian assault rifle, called the Canadian C7 in real life, and is the second highest unlock rank assault rifle. It was originally featured in the Phantom Forces Alpha back in 2014, removed from the game once alpha testing finished in 2015. It was recently brought back in the 2020 Independence Canada Day update, making it the last gun from Alpha to be brought back into the game. This is referenced in the weapon's description, reading, "This gun reminds you of a simpler time." The G11K2 is a peculiar German assault rifle and the highest unlock rank assault rifle in the game. It fires square-shaped caseless rounds which contain the actual bullets inside of them. The weapon's description makes a reference to the Sylvester Stallone movie Demolition Man, saying, "Wait a minute, this is the future. Where are all the phaser guns?"
Wait a minute, this is the future. Where are all the phaser guns?
This line was delivered by the film's main antagonist, Simon Phoenix, before he retrieves a G11K from the gun museum. In the movie, this weapon also fires blasts of plasma, with ridiculous charge-up time that becomes a joke during a fight scene later in the movie.
Will achieve fusion in 2.6 minutes.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about leaving quickly. Patience is not one of my virtues.
Mag now reactivated.
It's about time. Class is over, John. Time for something new and improved. Oh, hell.
The Type 88 is a North Korean rifle which has a great similarity to the Russian AK family. The game's description absolutely trash talks this weapon, stating, "An AK-74 knockoff for North Korean forces comes with a specialty overfolder stock and absurdly large helical magazine. Extremely poor ergonomics plague this firearm." I guess North Koreans don't like buying guns from foreign companies. I do, however, respect the helical magazine. It's interesting in its own way, much like the P90's rectangular magazine. The Stevens DB is a traditional double-barrel shotgun, which chambers 2 single shells. The gun has 2 triggers, which can be pulled individually to fire their respective rounds. The game implements this mechanic in an interesting way, giving the gun an alternate fire mode, which can be switched to by pressing V. This allows the gun to deliver an incredibly powerful blast by firing both barrels at the same time. An interesting part of this gun is the skin. On the stock of the weapon, you can faintly see the word "Boom" carved in, identically to the logo for the Doom game. Oddly enough, the skin for this gun puts the Boom logo with slot 1, meaning the barrel and logo would be the same color if a skin were to be applied, even though the logo is the same wood color as the stock when the default skin is applied. The logo on the stock, as well as the weapon's description, which says it spells Doom for whatever's in front of it, references the popular Doom franchise, as the gun greatly resembles the super shotgun from Doom 2, which became an iconic weapon for the rest of the franchise. Despite this, the super shotgun looks more like the sawed-off shotgun in PF, which, unfortunately, does not have the Boom logo on the handle. Fun fact, Boom is an in-universe version of Doom, seen in the form of an arcade game on the Corruption map during the Halloween 2020 update. The M1921 Thompson submachine gun, aka the Tommy gun, is a portable weapon that is a direct descendant of the M1919 Thompson, nicknamed the Annihilator, both having been developed by John Teleferro Thompson. Originally marketed towards civilian markets due to the end of World War I, Thompson branded the M1921 as a submachine gun, but was considered a commercial failure, despite being marketed for military and law usage, instead finding notoriety for being a popular weapon amongst criminals, appearing in many 30s and 40s gangster films. This weapon's description makes a reference to the first of the classic Godfather movies, reading, "Make him an offer he can't refuse."
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
This is, of course, a quote spoken by the character Don Corleone in the Godfather movie. As this was indeed a gangster movie, many of the characters, including Don himself, carried Thompson machine guns. PP-19 Bison is a Russian SMG, the second of the only two firearms in the game to feature a helical magazine, the other being the North Korean Type 88. Unlike that weapon's descriptions, the developers were much kinder when listing the details of this weapon. The weapon's description makes another reference to Metal Gear Solid, saying, "Kept you waiting, huh?" This is, of course, the trademark line of the badass Solid Snake, the main character of the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Kept you waiting, huh?
That guy always keeps you waiting.
I don't quite know the other details about Bison's relation to Metal Gear Solid, but I can assume it is a weapon used in the game, maybe by Snake himself. Oh, the BFG. One of the most hated and loved weapons in the game, it's probably the most powerful sniper rifle, chambering a single round that, according to the game, hits like a truck. The BFG's name is a joke in itself, standing for Big Effing Gun, but is also the name of a gun in the Doom franchise. However, the two are very different, being that Doom's BFG is a massive planetary destroying laser cannon. However, the two weapons do have one thing in common, being that they are both the most powerful weapons in their respective games. The BFG is actually a real gun, manufactured by Serbu Firearms, making it the second gun manufactured by Serbu to be featured in Phantom Forces, alongside the Super Shorty, which in the game is known as the Serbu Shotgun. The Heike 2 is the second most powerful sniper in the game, often being compared to the BFG in terms of power. It is, however, much slower when it comes to cycling around, meaning many people would be spotted and shot before they could follow up with a second shot, if the first shot did not kill their target. The game's description makes a joke of this, saying, "Sure, you could shoot someone from across the map with this, but the bolt takes a long time to cycle, and the reload is by no means swift." The M107, also known as the Barrett M82, is one of the few non-pistol Barrett manufactured weapons to be featured in the game. Unlike the very tame M9, the M107 is a 50 caliber rifle, a caliber normally used by anti-aircraft machine guns. Needless to say, this is a very powerful gun, though not nearly as powerful as my boy the BFG. It's the third most powerful sniper in the game, and even surpasses the BFG in terms of recoil. The game's description of the gun makes a reference to the animated series Archer, quoting, "Big whoop, I've got a Barrett 50 cal, I could kill a building."
Big whoop, I'm spooning a Barrett 50 cal. I could kill a building.
As far as I know, this is the only time the weapons makes an appearance on this show, as Archer's primary weapon of choice is the Walther PPK, same pistol wielded by James Bond, who was the inspiration for Archer himself. The WA-2000 is a German bullpup sniper rifle, added to the game alongside the G11K2 in the German Space Guns update. Yes, that's what the update was called. The gun's description references the James Bond film The Living Daylights, stating, Section 26, Paragraph 5. Need to know. I'm sure you understand. Although I was unable to find the quote in the movie, I can in fact confirm that the gun itself does appear in the film, specifically the opening sequence of the film. The Desert Eagle XIX is an IMI manufactured hand cannon, firing either .357 or .44 Magnum cartridges. The in-game weapon description quotes the film Death Sentence, starring Kevin Bacon, saying, "And you've got the King of Mayhem."
And you got the King of Mayhem. Half cannon, sword of justice. Take this to the Holy Land, start your own crusade.
This is spoken by John Goodman's character Bones Darley, who is a gun dealer. 3 other guns to make an appearance in the same scene are the Taurus Raging Bull M1911 and the Stevens DB. The Zip 22 is by far the smallest, most worthless gun in the game, coming in at only 15 maximum damage and a magazine capacity of 10. In addition to these god-awful stats, it is also incredibly hard to aim with, has terrible penetration, and most of the time barely does its job as a sidearm pistol. Despite all these faults, the PF community has taken a liking to the tiny gun, earning it a spot in the community as one of the few joke guns that are loved by players. Despite my suspicions, the Zip is indeed a real gun, as it was manufactured by the Zip Factory Company and shortly placed under military use. It was quickly removed from service as the weapon was considered weird and unreliable by many who used it, sending the Zip Factory out of business. This is referenced by the gun's description, a weapon so bad it killed a $1 million company. The M79 Thumper, or simply the Thumper, was an American grenade launcher used in the Vietnam War. In PF, the launcher was converted to a shotgun, and quickly earned a place among the most hated guns in the game, alongside the BFG and AA-12. One of the reasons so many people hate this gun is the fact that it has incredible range and accuracy for a shotgun, allowing players to one-shot enemies from a distance most shotguns would not be able to. I mean, what do they expect? It's supposed to be a grenade launcher, not a shotgun. Of course it's not going to work like a proper shotgun. Now I'll move on to the very extensive melee weapons category, which contain many more references to various media. The Tactical Spatula is a hilarious bladed weapon in the shape of a spatula, based off a similar weapon made by YouTube Michael Cthulhu. The weapon's description references that video in the way he demonstrates this weapon, saying that this spatula can open bottles, fry eggs, and dice watermelons in a single swing. However, when they talk about dicing watermelons, all I can think about is Fruit Ninja. The hunting knife is a rather straightforward melee weapon, basically being a rebranded and textured version of the default combat knife, albeit with slightly different animations and a completely different look. The knife's description quotes Ghostface from the movie Scream, saying, "What's your favorite scary movie?"
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
This is mainly a reference to how the knife looks identical to the trademark knife used by the killer in Scream. The Tanzanite blade and Tanzanite pick, along with the Zircon trident and Zircon slamsicle, are all references to the popular side-scrolling RPG Terraria. Yes, they look very much like the weapons and tools from Minecraft, but they are not referencing it. Except maybe that quote about the green exploding monsters, hence a creeper. Zirconium and Tanzanite, while being real gems and alloys, are also featured as materials in Terraria. The Mek'leth, I think I pronounced that right, is an interestingly shaped bladed weapon. It was featured in Deep Space Nine, but also made a debut appearance in Star Trek, wielded by the alien warrior race, the Klingons. This is referenced in the weapon's description. While it may be cumbersome for a human, a particularly strong alien could make a great use of this. It also references another quote from Star Trek saying, "Quapla." I think I said that right. This is a Klingon phrase meaning good luck or victory. The Ritual Sickle was added in the Halloween 2020 update, along with a host of other melee weapons. However, the Ritual Sickle was one of 3 original weapons created by the developers specifically for the Halloween update. It references the storyline that I've sort of pieced together as to the use of the weapon. An elaborate but crudely made sickle weapon used by cultists as both a self-defense weapon and for horrible rituals. This is a reference to the Corruption Map, the Halloween version of Jungle. In the center of the temple, there is an altar with 3 ritualistic weapons, although none of them have appeared in the game as wieldable weapons. Also, the sickle makes some crazy swinging sounds. The key, which in my opinion is the worst bladed weapon in the game due to its short range and low damage, is a leftover from the Ready Player One event in 2018, where the J key, or simply J key as it was referred to in the game, was an obtainable limited time weapon. This key is a gold color with a Stylis Studio emblem on the handle. The weapon's description says, "Wait, are those your keys? House keys, car keys, closet keys, basement keys? Whose keys are these and what do they open?" I still have yet to figure out what this is a reference to, as the PF wiki page on it is practically non-existent. The machete, which I think looks nothing like an actual machete, is a melee weapon unlocked rather than exclusive case unlocks like many other weapons. The weapon's description references both Battlefield 3 and 4, saying a certain GRU agent might have used this very style of machete. The GRU agent they are talking about is Dima, who appears in Battlefield 3, and one of his quotes in Battlefield 4 also is in the weapon's description. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. The ice pick, a climbing tool in real life, makes a reference to the popular Half-Life series, stating, "It may have been used by a free man once, in another timeline." This free man they speak of is Gordon Freeman, the character you play as in Half-Life 1 and 2. The ice pick itself appears in the Half-Life 2 beta, where it is called the Ice Axe. Wait, Half-Life 3 confirmed? The tomahawk, which is in reality a Native American hatchet named after the Algonquian tribe. The weapon's description makes a reference to the English idiom bury the hatchet, as well as Gary Paulson's book Hatchet. A small axe useful for surviving in the wilderness, even after your plane goes down. Maybe it's time you bury the hatchet with your opponent. The pocket knife, aka the Swiss Army knife, is a world-renowned utility tool used by many survivalists. This knife, however, has the Stylis logo on it instead of the Swiss Army logo. The Jason, which is a real machete, is an entire reference in itself. It's an homage to the hockey mask-wearing, machete-wielding maniac Jason Voorhees, who's the killer in the popular Friday the 13th movie. The description jokes about this, saying, "All you need now is a hockey mask." It also makes a reference to the sound that would be heard whenever Jason was nearby. The Dark Heart, which I have yet to use, is the second of the 3 original Halloween 2020 update weapons, being a sword that, as the description says, only appears when you swing. Scepter Born of Evil, Blade of Night that only appears when you swing it. Its power is immense, but unwieldy to use. Can your mortal form even handle it? Pretty ominous, to say the least. The Hattori is a traditional Japanese katana, used by the samurai in ancient Japan. The name Hattori is also a reference to Hattori Hanzo, a famous samurai from the Azuki Momoya eras in ancient Japan. I think I said it right. The weapon's description also says, a Japanese katana favored by ronin, traveling samurai that served no master. Although I know what ronin means, when they start talking about that, all I can think of is Keanu Reeves in 47 Ronin. The katana is also referenced to Kill Bill, a crazy movie about a katana-wielding blonde who is trying to kill her ex-husband. The reference supposedly is made in this symbol located near the hilt, which I guess is from the movie? I don't know, I haven't watched it. The Noob Slayer is a gigantic glowing red blade and an entire clear-cut reference to the Crucible from Doom Eternal. The weapon's name is even a reference, as the main character you play as in both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal is named the Doom Slayer, hence Noob Slayer. It also quotes the famous line associated with the Slayer in his 2 games, Rip and Tear. It also makes a cool humming sound. The Zero Cutter is a peculiar-looking triangular-shaped blade that has a translucent green color. It's based off the Z-Saber blade from the Mega Man X series, hence the description. A blade that served in countless wars between humans and robots, long since forgotten to the sands of time. Swift swing speed with robot-busting damage. The description also includes a Japanese phrase reading, Wari wa Meshaya Nari. Probably pronounced that wrong. This translates to, I am the Messiah. I'm not really sure about the background of this quote. Maybe it's from the Mega Man games? I don't know, I never really liked Mega Man. The World Buster is an obvious and giant homage to the famous sword wielded by Cloud in the Final Fantasy games, which shares the same name. This is proven in the quote, foretold in legends by one who wields the blade of World's End and would rise and bring terror to the land. It looks incredibly heavy and hard to swing. Cloud must have some hypertensile muscles since he swings that sucker super easily. Probably one of my favorite weapons in PF, mostly due to me having won it in a limited time event, which I'm very proud of. The Reaper is one of only 2 scythe-like weapons, the other being the Ritual Sickle. The Reaper was first added in the 2018 Halloween update It could only be obtained as a weapon by completing the Infection game mode, a COD zombie-styled mode in which a group of players had to evade the Reaper, a Grim Reaper-looking bastard who uses the Reaper. That's a lot of Reapers. At the start of the game, there would only be a single Reaper and at least 28 to 30 players. Despite the players having strength in numbers and, the fact that they have guns, the Reaper had an advantage in his health, which was a whopping 150 hit points, speed, and his night vision, as most of the map was shrouded in an ominous dark shadow, only illuminated in circles around the player. Think the blindness effect from Minecraft. For every player the Reaper killed, that player would also become a Reaper. The survivors had to last for 10 minutes, after which the warp gate would appear, which the surviving players had to get to in order to survive. Those who made it to the gate were awarded the Reaper for, as the game put it, evading death itself. In 2020, the Reaper isn't that good of a melee anymore, having a slow walk speed of 14.5, front stab damage of 80, and a blade range of 3.3. The weapon's description references its use by Reaper characters, saying, when you hold it, your blood runs cold, but you're not entirely sure why. Also, when you use T to inspect the weapon, the player model twirls it. Pretty cool. The Nordic War Axe is a heavy-handed bladed weapon that I love to use every now and then. The axe has Nordic runes on the underside, which isn't visible unless inspected in the menu. The runes translate to sunset, which is referenced in the weapon's description. Make sure it's the last sunset they'll ever see, implying that the last thing your victims will see will be the runes on the blade splitting their skulls straight open. The Chosen One is a lightsaber with a hilt based on Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, hence the name Chosen One. The weapon's description references Ben Kenobi's quote about the lightsaber, an elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
However, when I see the name Chosen One, all I think of is Obi-Wan screaming at the deep-fried Anakin.
You are the chosen one!
Fire axe is, well, a fire axe, but I'm not quite sure about part of the weapon's description. Also used by maniacs who become a dull boy. Hippity hoppity, I'm chopping down your property. Obviously the end of it is a reference to the popular hippity hoppity, get off my property meme, but part of it may be a reference to the fire axes used by killers in horror movies. Think of The Shining, I guess.
Here's Johnny!
You know that one guy? That guy that always seems to land a headshot every shot? The one that taunts you after every kill? The keyboard warrior in you needs this instrument to enact your revenge. That's actually the entire weapon description bio of the keyboard. Pretty much tells you everything you need to know about the keyboard, which is another one of Stylis' joke weapons. Obviously, this could be a reference to the popular funny videos of pissed off gamers pounding their keyboards, but the use of the weapon in-game could be referenced in another funny video. The crowbar is a simple melee, and a quite obvious reference to the main weapon of choice in the Half-Life series, as well as the default tool in Gary's mod. The crowbar's description references the Half-Life series, saying, it's also good for dealing with dangerous aliens. Fun fact, Bidden Up was the Stylis Studios developer who designed the crowbar model, and coincidentally also designed the ice pick model, another melee which referenced Half-Life. I guess Bidden is just a big Half-Life fan. The ASP baton is a telescoping melee weapon used in real life by US police officers. Unfortunately, the telescoping function is not available in PF, not even as an inspect animation. The ASP's baton references the Watch Dogs video game, saying, haven't you heard? I'm the vigilante. I clean up mess like you.
Haven't you heard? I'm the vigilante. I clean up mess like you.
Hilariously, at least to me, this quote is a grammatical error since the should most likely be replaced with a to say a vigilante as opposed to the vigilante, and mess should be messes. Just my little nitpick. Hammer of Thor, Mjolnir is another clear-cut reference to the pop culture, most likely being based on Thor's hammer from the Marvel movies, which are based on Marvel comics, which themselves took the character and his weapon from Norse mythology and folklore. Although, in my research, I was unable to find where the quote was from, the description says, you, soldier of fortune, happen upon a power beyond your mortal understanding. You take the weapon, hold it to the boundless skies, and know that you are worthy. Of course, the worthy part is a reference to what Thor would say to those unable to wield his hammer.
You're all not worthy.
However, despite the description indicating that you would hold it to the boundless skies, you still can't fly with the thing. The nightstick, like the ASP baton, is a riot-controlled melee club used by police forces in real life. The striking animation has the player holding the stick by its handle, performing poking motions. This is a reference to its similar use in the video game System Shock, which is also referenced in the weapon's description. Welcome to my death machine, interloper.
Welcome to my death machine, interloper.
The frying pan is the third kitchenware melee to be featured in PF, alongside the tactical spatula and the cleaver. The weapon's description makes a hilarious reference to Team Fortress 2's Demo Man, saying, "Few things are scarier than a Scotsman holding one of these things charging at you." This, of course, is a reference to the frying pan being a limited time available weapon to the Demo Man class in TF2. The hockey stick was added in the Independence Day Canada Day update, and in the spirit of that update is a part of a Canadian stereotype implying that they love hockey. The hockey stick itself has a Canadian flag on it, and the weapon's description makes another reference to the Canadian stereotype. A perfect tool to end the game of those that get in your way, but then apologize straight after. This is a joke about how Canadian people are very polite. My least favorite weapon I've had to do on this entire list for two reasons. The banjo is, well, a banjo, and has all sorts of graffiti and writing on it that I had to almost literally break my neck trying to read. One I could see very clearly says Wander and Sylvia, spelled incorrectly, BFFs. In my research, I didn't find anything, so I have to assume that they are names of developers who worked on the banjo. There is some cursive writing underneath the two strings, which I practically was unable to read, but I managed to get this. Pot 4 and Krynow's String Emporium. At the point I was able to figure that out, I didn't give a damn since my neck was hurting. There's some more text on the back with a crazy weird font, but I could only decipher the P's and O's clearly, and ended up with Pudanaz, whatever that means. The star on the top is a reference to Wander Over Yonder, and the description references this age-old country song. If it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Obviously a reference to the Cotton Eye Joe country song. Oh, Clementine. There's literally no wiki page on this weapon, yet description makes a clear reference to something. Forged from the fires of Mount Olympus using the metal of the finest smith, ivory bone of a demigod, and the hair of a centaur comes this tool of musical divinity. Whatever the hell that means, it's hilarious. My painstaking research efforts of plowing through stupid images of middle-aged bums playing country songs and music sheets finally discovered what the instrument is from, a video game called Brutal Legend. Whilst the guitar in the game itself is shaped differently, the color is very similar, if not almost identical. While the Brutal Legend wiki mentioned nothing of centaur hairs or the fires of Mount Doom, I did find an image with a quote that was similar in tone. A humble guitar back home, but here the power of our rock seems to be amplified by the world itself. The Void Staff is a third of 3 Halloween melee weapons added to the game. It also has the accomplishment of the only melee weapon to have a ranged attack. While hard to aim with, the Void Staff does deliver a deadly strike of lightning from a distance. According to the description, it is inspired by the Void Worms, which appeared on the Halloween maps Long Nightmare and Corruption. Now, finally through all the weapons, both melee and ranged, we will dive into the attachments section, which, to be clear, will be much shorter due to the small amount of information I could provide about what it references being made, or the fact that the references were small. The Tri-Laser, while being an actual thing in real life, is a reference to the popular film Predator, saying this in the description, a company of lasers intended for use by big game hunters from outer space. The vertical grip is perhaps the most reliable weapon in the game referenced in the description. Grab onto this grip and hold on, you're in control now. The reliableness of the vertical grip sparked the chant referenced by veteran PF players, Vertical Grip Master Race, which is a parody of PC Master Race. The potato grip, while being a good combination of the grip and the flashlight, hilariously makes several statements on both the wiki page and in the weapons description, saying "do not eat" in the weapons description, and on the wiki page in the trivia section, it simply says that it was included in the Halloween 2020 update and that actual potato not included. The stubby grip appears to be a shrunken down version of the vertical grip jokingly mentioned in the description. What is this, a grip for ants? Sideways grip has an alternative view mode activated by pressing T, which is mentioned in the description. Press T and aim to enter fun mode, and I can confirm, fun mode is actually fun. The chainsaw grip is one of the most fun and most interesting grips in the game, completely removing the user's ability to aim, but also boosting the gun's hipfire accuracy up to infinity. The description says, "Real men hip fire," and this grip satisfies that desire by removing the ability to aim. The oil filter is quite possibly the best suppressor in the game, making any gun it is placed on almost completely silent. When combined with the silent ammo conversion, which is only available on certain weapons, the gun literally makes no sound. Also, the oil filter is the only barrel attachment which changes color depending on the gun. Most times it is blue or gray, but I've also seen a pale red. The double open sight is a simple iron sight that has two open circles. It was a custom made-up sight created by one of the game's designers, Mar. This is referenced in the description, purely custom design made by some guy named Mar. Fun fact, Mar is one of the most popular designers of the game, and some of his art or avatar is featured on various maps, most prominently as a giant cat-headed spider in the Spider Den map for Halloween 2020. The ACOG scope is a popular and simple scope which is one of 3 standard canted sights. In real life, the ACOG scope sparked a controversy in which many scopes sold had Bible references in their serial numbers. Fun fact, the ACOG scope was the default sight for the railgun, a fictional and rare gun which could only be retrieved from a designated spawn location on the limited time map base Luna, which was one of the most fun maps I've ever played on back in 2016. The DCL-120 is the largest and heaviest scope in the game, which becomes very funny when you realize you can attach it to a tiny gun like the L-22. The most practical use for it would be on an LMG like the M60 or HK-21. The Maglite is literally a flashlight scope. The description jokes about this scope saying, "You may be a madman, but not a blind madman though." The AMT Terminator is an optic with a built-in laser, the only optic in the game to feature this besides the Mars sight. Both parts of the names were references to the 1984 film Terminator, obviously the Terminator part of the name, and the letters AMT are a reference to Arnold's sidearm of choice, the AMT handlebar. Contrary to what the description says, the laser sight itself is not from the future. Arnold's character purchases it in the year 1984. It was placed on a fully automatic M1911, which can be somewhat recreated in the game. Fun fact, there are actually 3 of the Terminator's choice weapons featured in PF, being the M1911, SPAS-12, and Uzi. The FF3X-NV is the only night vision scope in the game. The night vision mode isn't all that good just yet, especially since it picks up all sorts of light being produced from objects on the map. The handmade sight is a pretty funny attachment, being labeled by the description as the best sight in the game, and immediately disclaiming that not actually the best sight in the game. When closely examined, the transparent reticle on the sight appears to be made using transparent tape. The Animu and Anti sights are 2 sights featuring the PF character named Anti, who was drawn by Stylis admin Sumerican, who also drew the character Tobin featured on the Furrow sight. They are by far the least practical and hardest sights to unlock, as poor Anti often gets in the way of aiming. The Plague Insight is an interesting sight added in the Halloween 2020 update, which features an Egyptian-looking beetle with transparent wings unfolded to create the shape of the sight. The plague part of the name may be referenced to the plague from the Bible, where swarms of locusts are led by the fallen angel Abaddon to attack Earth. They're most likely from the void dimension alluded to in the Halloween update, since maps such as Long Nightmare, Corruption, Otherworld, and Occult feature either temples, portals, creatures, or landscapes from said dimension. I'll make a later video detailing the void. Despite what the description says, different species of this insectoid are used depending on the weapon of choice. The Plague Insight does not change its appearance when placed on a different weapon. The hand sight, given the in-game name of OK sign hand emoji, thumbs up hand emoji, the emojis not the words, is a sight created from 2 yellow hand emojis forming the shape of a scope. The description says, "Pro tip, aim for the tip of the thumb." And that is all of what I could gather from the menu-based references, jokes, and descriptions of the weapons in Phantom Forces. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and maybe consider subscribing. And if you would like to see more of these types of videos, leave a comment. What's your favorite character? What was your favorite reference? Favorite gun? Favorite character, maybe? Let me know in the comments. With that, I'll wrap up this video with a simple goodbye. But crudely made sickle. The tomahawk. Which is in reality a Native American hatchet named my birds. Can your mortal form even handle it? Pretty ominous. Voice crack. The Noob Slayer is a gigantic glowing... My birds again. Shh. Shh. Long since forgotten to the sands of time. Swift swing speed with robot busting damage. Damage. Weapons description references its use by the... ran out of breath. The rune... Whoa, nearly spilled my water. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age. However, when I see the name Chosen One, all I think of is Obi-Wan screaming at the deep-fried Anakin. The hockey still... The hockey still... Am I My birds are flying. I could only decipher the P's and O's clearly, and ended up with Pudanaz. Pudanaz? Pudows? Whatever that means. Also, the oil filter is the only barrel attachment which changes color depending on... Woohoo! Another voice crack. The ACOG scope is a popular and simple scope in... Oh, damn it. Shut up, McAfee. Canted Delta Sight and canted OCOG. OCOG Skype? OCOG Skype? Canted I did it again. Canted ACOG scope. The ACOG scope parked